Off with a little bit of Jiben Gong. Shaking out the legs and the arms. And I don't know whether you've got in your area, but right here it's snowing. We haven't had an awful lot of snow this winter.
Yeah. Yes.
Just nice and loose, getting everything loose. Let's work with the waist a bit. When you're doing waist exercises, remember to keep the head relatively stable. You know, you see people who start getting into this sort of thing, and they're actually minimizing the waist work when they do that, and they're losing their central equilibrium. So let's just go back and forth and work. This is a chance to loosen up the hips as well as the tailbone. So you wind up arching the back to the front, and then you round the back and sit the tailbone to the rear. Interesting when you start thinking about this and you're not actually shifting the weight, you'll feel that the pressure is circling on the feet. I tend to ignore the feet more than I should. There's stuff that I miss in my teaching, such as the eyes and the feet, and often the shapes of the hand. Okay, so this is helpful. The other thing too is that I'm going to start going for an hour and a half rather than an hour. And we'll get into the details later, but just to let you know that we're going to go a little bit slower today. So slapping the waist. Now here, experiment with softening the hips and then turning. And you soften the hips and move into them and then turn. When you do this, there's a pumping action. For example, if I'm going to turn in that direction, I pump down on that foot and then I come in. I'm going to turn here, I pump down on this foot. So, and that is done in a way that I don't have a weight shift from one foot to the other. The weight is pretty well centered, so the movement is localized to the rotation of the spine. And now fists, loose fists, lungs and kidneys. And now with the edge of the hand, the inside edge by where the thumb is, the shoulder pond, also known as the empty basin, and the tailbone. Up and forth, back and forth. Lungs and kidneys, and waist. Let the body stop turning on its own. Now let's open up the stance a little bit. Sink into the knees, have the toes out, and now start moving to the right. So you're in a right bow stance, shift back to the middle. And now move to the left. So the right leg is relatively straight, although the knee is not locked. So this is real bow and arrow work, but it's not square. It's not really yang style. So again, move into that stance, feet wide. Feel the stretch in the lower back and the tailbone. And now move into the center again. So it's sort of a high horse riding stance. And now press with the right foot and go into the left leg. When you do this, you have to be careful that you don't start forcing the knee to go out, to open out too much. At the same time, you're not really folding into the inner quad. The quad, for those who are unfamiliar with this terminology, is this zone here. So it's the hip zone, including the unguinal fold in the area between the pubic area and the inner thigh. So that's the inner quad, and here this is the outer quad. KUA or KWA. So just feel this and feel the stretch. Shift back into the middle, and again. And then back. Okay, grabbing your fan. Now, standing like this, And let's just start circling. So you shift to the right and come up and go down. And come up and go down. And now the other way. Notice how the arms are carried. You're basically doing that shifting work that we did with the wider bow stance. But the arms are pretty well consistently in front of you. As you do this, it's the body turning, so the arms are carried. Now let's just do a little bit of work opening and closing the fan. The basic mechanism, once again, is you're holding the top of the fan and you let the fan open away from that. So then you can flip it to the side. You can open it this way, horizontal, sideways, this way. So combining the closing with a strike, the hand is going like this. Circling. So I turn to my left hand touches the right elbow, and I open. So this is the energy of closing and of opening. Push and open. Push and open. Push and open. Okay, just loosen everything up. Now, going to gallery. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I think from the feedback I've been getting, I'm going fast. I'm going way too fast. I was just thinking in comparison with the old Yang session, and I have to admit the old Yang session is a little bit of a bear. Okay, this is a difficult form to learn, but we've just completed 6 hours this last week. And you know what? I'm letting people, by the end of that last class, they were able to start moving their feet. So we had 6 hours where people were just doing the Qigong and so forth without their feet moving. And finally, we moved 1 foot. So that's a little bit of a comparison to the pace that we're doing with this one. The comment has been made, and I think it's a really fair, a good comment, that I'm tending to motor through this too quickly. One reason for this, and I know it's a self-imposed pressure, is that I'm feeling a little bit confined by the 1 hour. I'm sort of aware of the fact I've got to get through this, I've got to get through this, and it's a purely self-imposed pressure, but it has had a distorting effect upon my teaching. So I think what I'm going to do is extend this to 1.5 hours, as is the case with the other Tai Chi forms we've had, and take a somewhat more relaxed approach in terms of getting through it. Is that okay with everybody?
And here, Steve, the only thing is I feel my brains are baked after about an hour.
Well, this suits, this fits my plan. I have an evil plan, or cunning plan, like Baldric. So my cunning plan is that what I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate, basically taking a somewhat slower pace on teaching in the initial stage, the initial hour of the class, and then we're going to do the motoring at the end. So the last half hour is going to be basically a chance to go through the form rep. But in the initial part of the form, I'll be working more on small chunks of movement, individual movements. And I think I'm also going to start talking a lot more about body mechanics, because I have sort of been light on that.
I think what
Yeah.
confused
So,
me.
so Karna was just saying, so in other words, if you want to drop out after the first hour, that's fine. You don't miss any new material, because in the last half hour, I won't be teaching any new material.
Okay, and what I think the one thing that bakes my brain is that I have trouble reversing what you are doing. Right? I have to constantly think, oh yeah, Steve's moving to the left on the camera. I should be moving to the right. And I think that's what causes the brain fatigue. And I don't know how to fix that.
I can see Eva nodding her head. This is where I can understand why Jill likes to learn to do the form in both directions. She learns the form one way, and then she learns the mirror image. I just don't have the gray cells for that. My brain works out. So anyhow, I think what I'm going to practice doing is, let's go through, try it today. And this is sort of working things out as we go through it. But I'll go through it in a little bit more detail. And then at the end, when we do the motoring, I'll do it one way and then I'll do it the other way. So you can follow consistently and get more than one view of what I'm doing. But I'm also going to start not doing illustrating moves so much on the diagonal, because that's where people get really confused in terms of their directions.
Steve?
So I'll do each move facing you, and then I'll do each move facing away.
Steve?
Yeah, Judy.
So there's a bit of technology we could try once to see if it helped. In Zoom, in the video settings, you can tell it not to mirror, not to flip your video. So the way the tech works is the video camera is actually recording you in reverse. And Zoom flips it automatically so that you can see yourself the way you know you're doing it.
Yeah.
You can tell Zoom to not flip it, which will look weird to you, but will mean that we see you moving the way we're moving.
Okay, I shall try that.
I wouldn't do it for the
But
whole
not today.
No. If you want to play with it someday, let me know, and I'm willing to zoom in and see if we can make it work, just you and I.
Okay, then that'd be great. I really appreciate it, Judy. Okay, so thank you very much. Now, getting into the form. The other thing too is I had from Jill. She sent me the document that I've provided you guys. She had questions about the names of some of the forms. And this is the document I'm talking about. Okay. The names here that I'm using are based upon Helen's book, her first book, which is not widely available now because of the fact that I don't think she's selling it. She's produced a new book that was geared towards teaching her students at York University. And it's got a simplified version of the form. And anyhow, some of the names are a little bit tricky, like offering incense towards the sky. What the hell is that? Then I make a reference at one point to some fencing moves. So I think what we need to do as we work through this is probably do some revision on the document. And at this end, I have a secretary willing and able to help me. That's you, Karna. Karna says, oh, yes. Okay, so anyhow, we'll work with this a little bit. But I think right now, the other thing too, by the way, is that in this class, we have people who are learning the form from scratch, and we have also got a couple of people who know it really, really, really well. The thing about the ones who know it well is that they are at this stage of the game, they've got the form, they've acquired the form, they can do it on their own. And so I think that they require a little bit less input from me. I welcome questions, however, but I'm going to start teaching this from the beginning and getting into a little bit more of the actual mechanics. So with that somewhat apologetic introduction, and let's head off to the beginning. Now, the first movement of the form, you put your fan away. With that first movement, there's a quality of lifting. So I sink, and in Chen style, you have this quality of the arms coming up and lifting before they come across. I think I mentioned this at a fairly early point, although whether it was in a Zoom session or in the park, I don't know. But if you look at this quality with the circle, you can break it down. So if I have my hands come up like this, and I take away this hand, what I'm left with is pung. Pung in terms of a lifting quality, not just in terms of bumping or something like that. So when you're doing this lifting quality, the tailbone sinking, there's a sense of pung in the legs. And as I do that, the arms are rotating like this. So there's a lifting. In some, I've made reference to a posture in some classes called white ape offers fruit, like this, where you're lifting and you're offering a bowl of fruit. So here you have that quality of lifting. Now the catch with the fan is that you're doing this, but you're not doing it as fully. So let's just follow me right now. And as you begin to lift, drop the tailbone and let the Mingmen open. And let the arms rotate. So there's a lift. Okay. Now, what is happening when you're doing this is that the armpits really are opening up at the same time that you are dropping the tailbone. So if you look at this arm, it's not like this. The armpit is open. You've got that ability to fit an apple into the arm. And then you come across and then down and then back in. Now, for those of you who are new to this, the four basic movements in Yang style are Pung, Lu, Ji, and On. And these are the movements that we study when we do grass bird's tail, except for the fact, of course, that their presence in Tai Chi goes way back before Yang style. It's all over Chen. But the lifting quality here is Pung. And you can see that my hands are fairly far apart. Now, I come to the middle, if this is to the 9 o'clock in the clock face, this is coming to the 12 o'clock. And you can see now that the hands, the distance between the hands is halved. And this isn't because of you consciously doing this. This is just the kinesiology of your body. So you're coming up, so you have the distance between the hands, and then you come into the middle. And here you've got a squeezing quality that is G. And then here you have a pressing quality, as if your hands are pressing down on a water balloon. And then you have a relaxed quality, a soft quality, where you're coming in. So this is Pung. This is G, a squeezing quality. This is On, like pressing on a water balloon. And then this is Lu, relaxed and leading. Now, the issue is doing this with the fan and only taking it not to this point, but to this point. So here, open, bring the fan and the hands up, and then you squeeze to the front, you're squeezing out. So that is G energy. Then you're lowering the fan, you're stepping out, And you notice I'm sinking into my right hip and I spiral down and the left foot goes out. And now here to the right, there's pung. And there's a quality like this in the wrists, pung. And then here, coming across like that, you can interpret this a number of different ways. You take the fan away and you go like this. This is the movement that in the old yang is called two fishes. It's like two fishes swimming. There's the tails going. Now with the fan and with Chen style, you have a quality of more lifting and more guiding in the part of this hand. So what's happening, and this is a very Chen movement here at the beginning, is the hands are coming up, then the fan hand turns palm up, and the other hand is palm down. And you're coming across like that, and then right here, you spiral down into the left hip. Now by spiraling down, you're going to change, you're going to move in that direction before coming back. So if I want to go right, I turn left and I sink. And then I come back again, opening from the hip, the right foot, and I step in. Now in this position, this hand is extended towards you, and this hand is here. Now Jill, she was picking up the notes, and I think it was here. I'm not going to get into the notes. And I say that your fan is held in tierce, T-I-E-R-C-E. A lot of those notes were actually intended for myself to remind me about what to do. But I was mixing in some phrases from swordsmanship. So this is one I'm going to get rid of when we redo these notes. Tierce is a position where the hand is palm out and the sword is like that. So what's happening is it's as if there's a punch coming in. And what I'm doing is I'm warding off the punch that way with my hand like this. So the hand palm out. So here I have a lifting quality. Here I have a guiding quality. I spiral down into the hip. My tailbone drops. I come across, and the one hand is warding out, and the other hand is out towards my opponent. Okay. Then I'm going to do a clockwise circle from the hip and step out. Now, when I step out, you'll notice that my foot is angled this way. So I'm concerned with this axis of movement. Okay, no question there, but the foot is angled in. Now, I've done this movement toward you so you could see what was happening with the hands. If you look at the carpeting, you've got a dark line there, and you've got a dark line here, and this represents the primary axis of movement towards you when we do the form. So in other words, this is like the room at the church, like the gym, except it's a hell of a lot smaller. And we're going to put this now into the context of the form. So I'm here, I settle into my right hip, I put the left foot out, toe down, and now I center the weight. Now, my hands come up to the right. Here's the lifting movement. All right, here I drop the tailbone. Here's the guiding movement. I spiral down into the left hip more, coming across. The fan is warding, pushing palm out. Fan and palm are directed in this way towards my opponent. And now I do a circle clockwise with the hip and step out. Okay. Going pretty basic. Now, there's stuff here that I haven't mentioned before, like the spiraling. Okay. So we're getting a little bit deeper into the movement. Now, questions. I need questions.
Steve, it's Rob.
Okay.
Yeah. Rob.
Oh, okay. Before when you have the arms moving in front, is that mainly carried or are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's carried movement. And this is such a good question. It's carried movement. And like we did at the very beginning, where we were in this posture and we pressed with one leg and the torso turned, and then we pressed with this leg and the torso turned back. This is the principle of what's happening with the fan. So we're in a more relaxed position. The fan's coming up, but here I'm pressing with my right foot. And I'm spiraling down into the left hip, and now I'm pressing with the left foot, and I'm opening the right foot. And in reality, all of the fan movement is essentially an optical illusion. The fan is not moving. My arms are almost immobile. I'm changing my hands around, but the whole thing is being carried. So I'm here, the hands, and you see here, the torso is turning. So the torso's turning, and here's the lifting. And what's happening with my arms and my hands? They're in front of me, but I've turned. Here's where I turn the hands, and I'm going to release with the left hip and pump with the right foot, and the hands come across. And then right here, I spiral down and sink into my left foot. And as I do that, the fan turns. So I sink and the fan turns and the tailbone's dropping, and then I open my right foot and I come across and I step in. So, gee, Rob, thank you for that.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
So now, are you guys getting the idea of this? And there's a sense of the stomach turning inside. There's a sense of the stomach and the abdominal muscles turning because the torso is being twisted by the action through the legs. The legs are like pistons, and one piston is releasing and the other piston is pushing down, and then you come back. And then this one pushes down and the other one releases, and then I come back. And when that happens, you get a sense of a turning action in the lower abdomen. Now, one of the most important texts in Tai Chi is from a guy named Wu Yuxiang, who lived about 150 years ago. And he wrote that power comes from the ground, is released through the legs, directed by the waist, and manifested in the hands. So this is looking at the fan form from a different point of view from what I did earlier. I'm concentrating now upon the internals of what's going on. And the action of the fan being carried and everything being carried, this is coming from the feet. It's coming from the feet. So backing my way up here, facing you, I'm releasing here and pumping here, and the torso turns. Okay, so here is the commencement, and there's the lifting quality with the arms. And now I relax the tailbone, and I come across, and the arms are carried. I'm releasing on this side, pumping on this side. And I relax the tailbone and spiral down further. And as I do that, I have this turning action. So this turning action is reflective of the hip and the tailbone, and it's also reflective of the stomach turning like this. So coming up, sink, come across, spiral. Open the right foot. Now this hip stays there. I'm opening like a book, like this. So here, double opening, sink. Coming across, spiral, and turn the hands, a little bit more weight on the left foot, open the right, shift in. Now here is the circle, and I step out. My weight here is relatively in the middle. It's not really towards the front or the rear. So it's like this. All right, how's that going?
Yeah.
Jill. Oh, Ann. I've got different people waving their hands. Okay, let's start off with Jill and then we'll go to Ann. Jill.
Just checking in on the angle of the twist step. When your right foot comes down, is it at what angle? Is it a 90, a 60?
It's terrible. It's at a 90.
Okay, that's fine.
It's at a 90, which means that it actually, you have to be careful not to have the 2 feet flat on the ground at the same time.
Mhm.
Okay, because if you have the 2 feet flat on the ground at the same time, there's pressure on the knee.
Right.
Okay, so just to explain to everybody what Jill's talking about here. Okay, looking at my feet. You see the feet are relatively parallel. So here's the lifting quality. And here's where I'm sinking. Here's the spiral. The weight is shifting towards the left foot, and the right foot is opening 90 degrees in that direction. Now the toe is off the ground. If I have the weight distributed, shared by both feet, then there's equality of pressure on the knees. So I've come like this, and then as I shift my weight, I lift the left heel. That lets my body turn, and I bring the foot in. Now, this is similar to that first movement in the Yang style, where you have the 2 fishes, and you come to here, and then you have that first foot, that first step. So this is a Yang style step, and it's very open, and it can be a little bit troublesome. So remember that when you're in a 90-degree step like this, when that toe goes down, this heel has to lift at the same time. The last part of this supporting leg that is in touch with the ground is the side of the big toe. So when you're making this step, you're pushing off with the side of the big toe, and that's a significant acupoint on, I think, the spleen meridian. And then you're doing the circle and stepping out. Is that okay, Jill?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Anne, you had a question.
Yeah, a couple of points. First of all, thank you for taking the time to show us the Pung Ji on and Lu without holding the fan. It really explained the sort of graceful, floaty quality that I so admire when I see the veterans doing the fan, and that helped,
Good.
put in my head. I always feel wooden when I do that. So now that I have a better understanding. And secondly, the when you talked about Tai Chi, starting with the feet, the power from the earth up into the hands, that's the same philosophy for belly dance.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the thing is, you have so much stuff here that is the same. Another way of looking at it is that everything is gears. Everything is circles and gears, and they're all interconnected. So the spine, the whole works. If you look at what I'm doing here and the fact that I'm not moving my head, there was an amazing video on YouTube a while back that I sent out to people, and it was of a kingfisher on a branch of some, grass or whatever, and it was watching, it was fishing. And it was the most extraordinary damn thing, because the branch was moving with the wind and the kingfisher's head was not. The head was absolutely suspended in space and the body was moving. The body was moving. I can't even imitate it, but this is something I see in belly dancing. Okay. Other questions before we continue?
Steve, this is Judy.
Yes, Judy.
I want to go back to the step that you just did. So you got as far as shifting weight to your right foot's at 90, your left foot's in. When I land that left foot, what angle is it at?
This is really contentious, depending upon what style of Chen you are teaching. And I'm going to do a Helen Wu thing here rather than a Beijing thing. So here we are. Here's the lifting, sinking. Here's the coming across. Here's the spiraling with a bit more weight going to the left foot. And I open the right 90 degrees, toe down, comes up and my foot is like this. So I'm in, Judy, a follow step. Like that. Okay,
And then where does your foot go?
it's really neutral. So I'm not open like that. I'm like this. So the groin is protected. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my foot in that direction. Step out. So you see, this is the clockwise trapping action. So I go here and trap. And then I step out. Does that help, Judy?
Yes, it does. So when you step out, that left foot and the right foot are roughly 90 degrees-ish.
Here, let me do this again. I like the ish. Ish covers a multitude of sins when it comes to communication. Here, 90 degrees, here. Now, so this, well, not quite 90 degrees, but it's towards it. Okay, now here I'm going to step out. Now, the feet are not quite parallel.
Okay.
Not quite, but they're toward the parallel. And the big thing is that this foot is not like that. Okay, you see a lot of this in tournament style Chen stuff, not effective. Hard on the knees too. So this is in. So here, I'm going to do a levitation act now. Watch. The feet generally in that direction, a little bit opened up. That okay, Judy?
Thank you. That's so helpful.
Any other questions before we continue?
Steve, it's Rob. What you were just demonstrating there now, isn't it more like you're ending up like in a bow stance, almost with the left leg at 45 and the right one at 90?
No, it's a different kind of stance.
Okay.
And this is where you get into some differences in terminology. This is called a half horse stance. Okay, it's a half horse stance. So here, this is a horse stance. This is a half horse stance. So horse stance, absolutely equilateral. Shift my weight, open the one foot. Half horse stance. This is much more Chen. All right, Rob?
Okay, yes,
Now
thank
look,
you.
if I push with this leg and fold into the hip, there's your bow stance.
Okay.
Okay? Good question. Next. Jill.
You'll be delighted to know I'm asking you a martial application question, Steve.
Oh, okay.
So the move that we end up with in the half horse stance, with
Yeah.
arms, I'm particularly interested in martial application. I'm trying to figure out if the hands are moving like this, or are they parallel, and what are they doing martially?
Okay, Karna, can I have your help? This is where I do need some assistance. So anyhow, I sometimes refer to this movement as being the devil's handshake. Okay, and this is, of course, a variation upon what you're doing with the fan. Now, the devil's handshake is a way of controlling somebody if you want to get somebody out of a dance or into the backseat of a car. And what it is that this hand pronates and this hand supinates under the elbow. So now back out. So there's the shape. Okay, so yin yang, there's the yang position. And you see how by doing this, I've turned her elbow. I can put a lock on the wrist if I want here, like that. And this hand comes underneath. So one hand's going down, the other hand's going up. So you have the potential there for a lock or a throw or an arm break. I'll pull out. Got the idea? Now from here, I'm simply moving this hand up like that. This is being extended a bit more. Thank you, sweetie. So with the fan, like that. Okay. I'm not sure whether I'm clarifying this or confusing it. So the hand, now the other thing too is multiple applications. This is protecting your head. Okay, so you have that quality here as well, is protecting the head. You have the ability to move into something like fan through the back. You know, here you are holding a fan, it's in my head. But you've got this quality here, this warding and this lifting. Does that help, Jill?
Great, thank you.
Okay. Now let's continue to the next move. And then we're going to do this in line a couple of times using the alignment of the carpet. But if I am facing in this direction, here, here, here's where the tailbone drops and I spiral down, a bit more weight to the left foot. Open up the right foot, and there's where that spiraling is where the hand and the fan changes. So now I'm in what I would call the devil's handshake position. Okay, here's the trapping circle. And I step out. Then from here, my weight shifts towards the right foot and I chop with the fan. Now you'll notice that my torso turns to support the chop. And when we were working in the park, you had a tendency to do this and not to commit the torso to turn in. So you were kind of going like that. I'm going bang, very definite. Then I'm turning back. And then I'm coming back again. And I'm circling down to protect the knee. Like that. We're taking this at such a slow pace, we're getting into a lot of detail that I didn't touch on earlier. So here. Trap. Chop. Now, when you're chopping, there's the action. So one hand palm down, the other hand palm up. If you were doing this, you'd be able to present the flowers. And it's like that. Which means that when you were chopping with the fan is doing this. You're not chopping with the flat of the vein. You're chopping with the edges. Okay, this is an action that you get over and over again. Armpit, elbow, wrist, and there's the chop. So the chop is being communicated from your body. Lifting, guiding, spiraling, Opening the right foot. There's the devil's handshake. See how my right palm holding the fan is turned palm out, and the wrist is set. Shift. Then trap, step out. Then from here, left hand folds across, palm down, right hand goes out, palm up. There's the chop. Then I just relax the left hip. Comes up again. Here's a lifting quality again. Right, the fan protects the head. And I sink. And this time I'm not looking over there. I'm looking here. So multiple opponents. Take care of that guy. Come back. Oh, you got a problem here. And this hand protects the leg, comes down like that. And the fan's up here protecting the head. So everybody okay with that? Okay, continuing. Now, some people here have not practiced empty hand Chen style. In empty hand Chen style, you have a movement called a number of different things, but King Kong mailed fist, reference to the Monkey King. So in empty hand Chen style, there's what we just did. There's what we just did. And then you step through to here. And then you've got a movement. So the movement here with this fist in the empty hand is on the perpendicular plane. With the fan, where did I put my fan? There it is. With the fan, you're turning onto the horizontal plane. So devil's handshake, trapping, step out. Here's the chop, letting your torso turn, shifting back. Notice how my arms are carried. Here's protect the head, complete circle with the left hand. Now from here, I'm going to level the arms and the fan, and I'm going to pivot in the right foot at the same time. So the right toe comes in, and then I bring in the left heel. And at the same time I do that, this hand is coming up. And then I'm stepping through. And this came through on the horizontal plane. So it's not coming through like this. It's coming through like that. Let me do this toward you. So, trap, step out, half horse stance. There's the chop. Keep the circle going. I keep my gaze on you now. Left hand is turning palm up. Fan protects the head. Hand protects the knee. I level the arms, pivoting in the right toe. I pivot in the left heel. And now I step through. And the left foot is at an angle. And the right foot is in a cat stance. It's straight. The supporting foot in any one-legged posture, and this is a one-legged posture because there's no weight on that foot, the supporting foot has to be open. Okay, it's just the structure of the hip. It has to be open if you're going to be able to have any balance. So I've done this, and I've come back, I've done this, I've done that. Now here is where I'm bringing in the right toe. Here's where I'm bringing in the heel. See how the hand came in here? It's no longer fully extended. And then I go. And the hand is not touching the fan. The thumb is below, the fingers are on top. So if somebody tries to seize the fan, you can pretty quickly break the other person's grip. Now, one question here before I go any further, I've thrown in a term, and I don't know whether everybody knows what I mean. When I speak of trapping with the trapping circle, do you know what I'm referring to? Okay, a couple of people are saying no. Vern, I need your help again. All righty. Now, this is actually something I learned from my dad. This is old-fashioned jiu-jitsu, and it is part of the devil's handshake movement. Well, what it is if you have here a trap with the upper arm, and the wrinkle here with the trapping circle is you have a trap with the leg. This circles up and comes in behind the knee. I don't want to dump my sweetie.
No.
Okay, so it's like that. Okay, and right now, if I stamp down hard, the knee is gone. Okay, that's one option. Okay, she's off balance. What I can do, she's falling, I can step forward, and you see, she's already falling.
Yeah.
And what I can do is I can take this and I can simply push, which is a throw that might break the arm. So there's a whole bunch of things involved here. But the thing to notice is when the foot comes up, it has to come up in a circle to go behind her knee. And the toe is in like this. Because I'm not kicking with that foot. I'm grabbing with the sole of the foot behind her knee. Thank you. So you're like this, you've trapped here, then you grab, you're trapping with your foot, and then you're stepping out. And it's a little bit of a tricky move because the step out has to be done with control.
Steve, it's Anne. So
Yes,
is
Anne.
trap, is this a martial arts? Is it a term used in martial arts? Like I only know one meaning for it, so.
Well, I use it. Okay, as to whether other people do or not, but it's you could also say it's a lock. It's a way of locking both the leg and the arm and elbow.
Okay. all right.
Okay, so you have to remember in terms of martial arts instruction, you know, half of us make it up as we go along. I'm no exception to the rule, but you are trapping the person's balance. You are taking, like you could see how all of a sudden everything was compromised as soon as I touched the knee.
Like you've got
Okay.
them in a trap. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I
and you've
understand now.
locked the arm, and
Yeah.
now you're taking the knee. And at this point, well, it's whatever you want to do with them. This is, by the way, the devil's handshake. It's also a move used by bouncers at dances. If you need to get somebody out of a room because he's being loud and obnoxious or drunk, and this is one way to get the drunk to shake your hand, then you take him over like that, get him on his toes and walk him out of the room. Okay, this is something that Robin Young would teach his students at Conestoga College. Robin is a Sifu in Guelph, quite a senior Sifu of Hung Koen, and he was a senior student of Sifu Jimmy Lore, who was sort of a legend in Chinese martial arts. And anyhow, Robin taught self-defense for paramedics because he was a professor of paramedicine at Conestoga College and at Sheridan. And he developed actually a whole series of movements to help paramedics defend themselves when they were dealing with people who were out of control and they had to be restrained from either hurting themselves or other people. And this kind of lock is one of the basic things that he would use. Okay, everybody okay with this? Okay, now let's go through that sequence again. let's go through that again. And then what we'll do is I'm going to go through the entire first section a couple of times in the course of the last time block we have. And I would like your input. So this is now the form would be on this axis. And in the last 20 minutes or so of our session, I'll be doing the form this way, going that way, and then on this axis going the other way. So you see both ways. However, right now to review these movements, because of their nature, I'm going to do them toward you, and then I'm going to do them standing away from you. So here, resting into my leg, put out the foot. You see, that could have been a trapping circle right there. Now, lifting with the spiraling in the arms, sink. And here's where the hands change. Sink. Guiding across, spiraling down into the left hip, dropping the tailbone, opening the right foot. Coming through. Then, trapping circle, and step out. And you can see that the feet are not quite parallel. This is a half horse stance. Here's the chop, and let my torso turn, and my weight shifts to the right foot. But make sure I don't collapse my left knee. And the circle continues. Then I look at you. Right hand protects the head, left hand circles down and protects the knee. Shifting the weight towards the left foot, pivoting in the right toe, shifting in the left heel, step through. Like this. Now, going the other way. Lifting, guiding, spiraling down into the left hip, opening the right. Shift across. Circle, there's the trap. Step out. Chop, I got to get more room. Chop, back. Protect the head, protect the knee. Level the arms, pivoting in the right foot. Bring in the left hand and the left heel. Like this. Step through. With my back to you now. Into the right hip. Foot goes out. Coming up, lifting. Coming across, everything carried. Spiral down into the left hip. Weight more toward the left foot as I open the right 90 degrees. Toe down, heel comes up. Follow stance. Circle. Step out. To the rear, chop. Weight to the left foot. Back, or rather to the right foot, back to the left foot. Almost to the left foot, but sinking into the middle. Down. Level. Open. Step through. And the step through is a cat stance. Shubu or subu in Chinese, kibidachi in Japanese. Okay, questions?
Okay, Steve, it's Rob. I just have to leave now, so I wanted to say thank you very much.
Okay then, Rob.
Okay, thanks. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And before we run through a couple of times, because this is when the class normally ends, and I'm going to be carrying it another 20 minutes or so, what do you guys think of this pace of teaching?
Yeah, and here, Steve, I found it much better today. Like I feel more confident. Yeah, I don't need the speed. I like this more, the slower approach.
Okay. Jill?
I'm optimistic that I might learn this entirely by Zoom.
Okay. I hope your optimism is warranted. Sophie? Can't hear you. Nope.
She looks frozen.
Yeah, I think I like you. She's not frozen in terms of her visual, but her audio is not working. So email me if you have other contributions. Bob?
Excellent, excellent.
Okay. Eva?
I think it's great, and I'm also simplifying for myself by doing the sitting position, because then I learn concentrate on the hand, and then I don't get distracted by the legs. I know that explains, but that's how it works for me.
All righty. Judy?
I love details, Steve.
All right. Okay, guys, we've had 2 people leave us. Let's go through. There are, I think, 5 or 6. Oh, Carol is here too. I didn't realize Carol was here. Hello, Carol. Okay,
Hiya.
let's go through part 1. And we're going to be doing the length of the room. Obviously, for a good number of you, there are a bunch of moves in here that you don't know. Don't worry about it. Just sort of float along on the current. Okay? Speaker view on top. Sink into the right hip, put out the left foot and center the weight. Now, remembering all I said about the rotation of the forearms, to the right, lift. Now, turning the right here, you sit and you come across with everything being carried. Weight just to the left foot, slightly spiral down into the hip. Open the right foot 90 degrees from the hip and move into a follow stance. Now here's the trapping circle. Step out. Half horse stance. Chop to the right rear, turning your torso to support the chop. Left hand folds palm down. Circle the arms together. Look out in front of you. Left hand out, right hand protects. Left hand circles to protect the knee. Level, pivoting in the toe. Bring in the heel. Now, we'll be getting into this next week, but right now, step right, circle up, cross step behind left, and stab with the right hand, like this. Right foot turns palm down, and at that point, because I'm doing this so slow, right foot goes palm down, I turn the fan over. Heel goes down. Pivot on the right heel, pivot on the left heel. Close the fan in a circle. Come up, and this is called incense to the sky. Down. Her lady works the shuttles. Shoveling, I think, is what Helen calls it. Cover. Close the fan. Left hand traps, right hand chops. Horizontal, clockwise wheel, follow stance, step out, and thrust. Open up the right foot, close the left foot, and weight towards the rear foot. Now, different ways of handling the left hand. Let's do Helen's way for this one. Bring the hand in and step through. So I'm holding my fan like this. Helen gets her fan like that. No way I can do that. So I'm holding mine down. Now we're going to do a step to turn around, and you'll notice that even though we got turns and twirls, we're moving on this axis. So I'm here, small step with the right foot, step behind with the left. Turn, turn. So here, everything together like this. Step out and sweep up and sweep down. Forward, edge on, edge back. Actually, I'm going too slow now for my own good. There, back and forward. Cover and twist step. Circle step with the right foot. Circle step with the right foot. Step back with the left, and again turn. And then you repeat the movement. Up and back. Forward and back and forward. Now from here, turn, close. And you can see that this was similar to the chop that we did earlier, except what's happening is we're closing the fan at the same time. Shift the weight, your torso's turning, carried, left hand goes behind and it forms a fist. I come back to the front, my fan is going low and the left hand is in a fist, palm up. Fan up, left hand down in front of the groin, open the fan and sink. Coming through and up. Step through, circle the fan, raise the knee, looking to the left. Step and shoveling move. And that is the end of part one. Now, moving away from you. Sink into the right hip. Left foot goes out. Lift. Carried motion. Spiral down into the left hip, opening the right foot 90 degrees. Shift through. Right hand warding off, left hand presented towards the opponent. Trapping circle. Step out. Turn and chop to the right rear. Shifting back. Weight shifting between your feet, you notice. Fan protects the head. Left hand protects your knee. Leveling, bringing in the right toe, bringing in the left heel. Then, 1. We'll do this next week. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then up, incense to the sky, down. Our lady works the shovels. Cover. Close the fan in a circle. Chop after trapping with the left hand. Horizontally spin the wheel. Thrust. Open the right foot, close the left foot. This is like what we just went through, but now weight to the right foot. Pivoting in the left heel, step through. Using a step rather than a pivot. 1, 2, 3, to here. Then up, back, forward, back, forward, cover and twist step. And at this point, I need to reposition myself again. So here, cover and twist step. Step around, circle, here to here. And then again, up, and you see I'm going in a consistent line away from you. Here, here, and back. Get yourself a little bit more room here. I let my weight go to the front foot so I can step back with my right. And that gives me a bit more room. Open the right foot, close the left. And it's like this chopping move, except here, I'm closing the fan. Coming across, right hand forms the fist. Come across. Sink. Pivot in the right toe and the left heel. Step through and raise the left knee. Step out, and Fair Lady works the shuttles. Okay, guys. Now, any suggestions? How did that go for you?
It's really helpful that you stay on the square.
Okay, good. I figured. There are some funny angles on this one, so I think that that's an important idea to remember. Most of the stuff is going to be 90 degrees one way or on the long axis, and this is a very long form. But you are at regular points moving into the corners. And it's very easy to get crossed up if I don't keep it aligned. And I thank Linda Cairns for that idea of using the carpet. Okay, anything else, guys? Okay, now, questions are good, okay? One of the functions of questions is to keep me slowed down, to slow me. And remember, next week, we'll be going through until this time. I'm not saying religiously until 11, but we'll have a teaching session for an hour, and then we'll go through a longer chunk of the form. Didn't get into part 2 at all, maybe next week, but I doubt it. Anyhow. And I'm open to suggestions on how to improve. So, everybody, take care, good health, good practice, and stay safe. Bye-bye.